So you wake up, it's another beautiful day in America where you think, gosh, it was so dumb yesterday. Can it get dumber? And you flip the news on, and sure enough, you see people like Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, claiming that the Atlanta shootings, the guy that went on a shooting spree killing 8, is to blame on Kung Flu. Stupid woke shit like this. So it's woke, but it just doesn't seem woke enough. Blaming the shooting on essentially what Trump called the China virus, the Wuhan virus, the Kung Flu, saying that that embodies hate and that we need to end it. This is where Kung Flu leads. See, this is ridiculous, but it's not woke enough. You can read that on your own time. I want to show you this. This goes further. What is truly to blame? On the root, Damon Young writes, whiteness is the problem, and it is whiteness that is a pandemic. It's not white supremacy, folks. They claimed white supremacy was the cause, and they blame everything on white supremacy. But that is simply just their label for anything that is dignified, is reputable, and happens to be white. And it's not me saying that. It is them saying that when they say that it is too white to have calendars and time and schedules and expect people to work a normal labor 9-to-5 job. All of those things are white for them. So Damon Young writes, whiteness, all those things, that is by itself a new pandemic. There's a new variation of a pandemic. It's not a virus, it's whiteness. He says, I don't have much to add here that hasn't already been said. Whiteness is a public health crisis. It shortens life expectancies, it pollutes air, it constricts equilibrium, it devastates forests, it melts ice caps, it sparks and funds wars, it flattens dialects, it infests consciousnesses, and it kills people. White people and people who are not white, my mom included. There will be people who die in 2050 because of white supremacy-induced decisions from 1850. He continues, a line can and should be drawn from the actions of the white supremacists who stalked into 3 Atlanta area massage parlors yesterday and allegedly killed 8 people, 6 of whom were of Asian descent, to the relentless anti-Asian rhetoric pollinating national discourse over the past year. The former president and the party of the former president can and should be blamed for this decision and the sudden increase of racist violence against Asian Americans. So it doesn't matter who's carrying out the attack, all of the blame will be on Donald Trump and the party, he says. Damon Young. He continues, the line doesn't stop there, though. It extends back 400 years and has tentacles clawing everywhere white supremacy exists here in America, which is everywhere. And that is why I say that it's just white supremacy is the label for anything that is dignified and led by or held by or owned by or created by a white person. It wasn't just Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben they were going to come for. They've set a precedent by doing that. And now they're going to say anything that is white supremacy, anything that is ideal, anything that is to strive for and happens to be white will be white supremacist. And you know this because if you are a nationalist, if you say, I'm a patriot to the point that I believe our country is the best and we should have an America First agenda, and you're white, and you identify those things together, you're a white supremacist. You're a white nationalist. And you know that that is the entire the reason, the point of intersectionality. They'll take 2 things on the left that are protected classes, things that they cannot discriminate on the basis of, but they'll tie them together. They'll find the intersection of those 2 things, and now they can discriminate in the inverse. And they'll weaponize that first, and then they'll let that tide recede, and it'll wash back upon minorities. And that is the left's true long-term plan here. He says there's a line connecting this act of terror to the 11 people killed at the Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018, the 9 people killed at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in 2015, of course, but also to gentrification, redlining, to racial profiling, to gerrymandering, to voter oppression, to mass incarceration. So, okay, he's going on a long list of things that I doubt he could actually define. And I say that only because this is exactly the same list of like half of the John Oliver specials over the last 3 years from last week tonight. It's as if he's reading it in his voice, like gentrification, redlining, racial profiling, to gerrymandering, voter oppression, mass incarceration, to the war on drugs. This is exactly how the left does it. They just list all the terrible things and blame them all on one thing, which is apparently white supremacy. That's what Damon Young is claiming. To the subprime mortgage crisis, vast disparities in both COVID deaths and who receives the vaccinations, how women and men stormed the Capitol and just went home and had dinner, except for Ashley Babbitt. They don't mention her. While we were still processing and recovering from what we witnessed, they were already on their way back on their couches watching Criminal Minds. That's how he sees them. And by the way, them, he's saying everyone at the Capitol was white. That's a disgrace by itself. That's racist. He says white supremacy is a virus, like other viruses, will not die until there are no bodies left to infect, which means he doesn't leave it up to your imagination. He explains what this means. He means the only way to stop it, white supremacy, which he already defined as basically anything white, which is everywhere, is to locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it. I guess a vaccine could work too, but we've had 400 years to develop one, so I won't hold my breath. Yeah, because if you did, you'd be yelling, I can't breathe. Damon Young is an avowed racist. He writes this piece saying whiteness is a pandemic, and he ought to be ridiculed for it. You ought to mock this fool. So share this with your friends. Let them know that the left is writing pieces now openly about how whiteness is evil. It is a pandemic, and clearly he believes a vaccine could work against whiteness. What the hell does that mean? But you know what? We ought to just locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it. Kill off whiteness, he says. That's from Damon Young at The Root. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Obviously, I think he's a racist tool, and he ought to be loudly chastised for it. That's what I think. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Support it by subscribing. Hit the notification bell. Hit the support button. If you're not on Odyssey, go there because that's where we're all headed in the future. Into the future. And otherwise, there are links in the description to help support the channel further and keep America afloat.